What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome back to Park to Prem here with Towel or Town. Today it is episode number 54, and I have a slightly raspy voice. Yes, I've got a sore throat. I'm going on holiday in a couple of days. I'm trying to get loads of videos recorded. It's all a bit of a disaster. And well, speaking of disasters, Sandra, the world's greatest scout, I think it's fair to say, she plans to retire. I mean, she is 75, so the fact that she's retiring now and hasn't sooner is somewhat of a surprise. But yes, she has decided to, I was about to say hang up her boots, but she's a scout. Do scouts have boots? If you're a scout watching this, please do let me know. And, well, incidentally, whilst I was kind of setting up things to start recording today's episode, I searched her name, and you can see here, Sandra's fundraiser actually popped up. Now, we didn't have a Sandra's fundraiser this year, but I am now feeling like we might have to keep bringing back this competition as something in the future. But, well, as one door closes, another door opens. And in terms of relationships, Mr. International, considered an acquaintance, and we're trying to get him in as a member of staff. We're trying to get him in as a youth coach, I want to say. He's not a very good coach, but look at him, 31 years old. He hung up his boots, and a bit of a premature retirement, to be fair. But Mr. International, hopefully coming home to Towler. So that fills me with hope. And speaking of new signings, folks, I've been a busy beaver. I don't know what my obsession is with beavers. They're just my favourite animal, I guess. And yeah, we've been busy. We've made two new signings, two players who we can't register for another month, but they have appeared in the odd cup competition, and they will be playing today in the FA Cup. So let's talk about them. The first player, someone who, well, long-term fans of the channel may remember, Tristan Needham, a former Ipswich Town youngster. You can see here, 105 games he played for Ipswich. He then moved to Rotherham, and now he is signed for us on a free transfer. And I think for this level, this guy is absolutely superb. He is on a very modest wage as well. It's not too incredibly crazy. When you consider that Forster Kasich, I realise I've been calling him Kasich a lot and people have been getting annoyed by it in the comments, but compared to Forster Kasich, damn it, who is on £3,500 a week, the fact he's on £1,400 a week, half of that is pretty impressive. And you might have spotted the other player here, Andre Dazelle. What a signing for this level this guy is. Another former Ipswich Town man, released by them, didn't pick up a new club. This guy has crazy potential, if I'm not mistaken, in FM. He's not realised it here. He's been released after a number of years languishing in League One with Ipswich Town. And I just think as a playmaker, he's going to be absolute top draw. I know the Warrington fan club is probably in panic mode right now, but the reality is that in the centre of the midfield, we haven't changed things too drastically. Obviously, we did bring in Forster Kasich last year, but he was kind of brought in before we knew we were going to get promoted. And when I spotted these two guys available for signing, I kind of just had to bring them in. If we just compare, you can see here Warrington and Andre Dazelle. This is why I've signed Andre. I feel like this makes sense as a signing. Whatever way you look at it, it's hard to not say that these two players are massive improvements. Additionally, with Needham, can play left-back and a real variety of positions, which is really useful. As I said, due to League 2 rules, they can't be registered right away. So they are available for selection for today's FA Cup game, and we're going to play them alongside each other, so get ready for some judgment there. Needham, by the way, if you're a Gibraltar Apex fan, you might remember him. We signed him. I think he was the first ever non-Gibraltarian player we signed for Gibraltar Apex. That's going back to FM15 or 16? I think 16. It's a long time ago now in the grand scheme of things, but nice to have a familiar face back. And you may have also noticed, just on the transfer centre, a load of new transfers, not Mr. International, no. We actually had a bid from Shuttleworth, or for Shuttleworth from Millwall a little while ago. I don't think I ever mentioned it. I rejected it. It was lots of clauses, wasn't overly happy with it. But on the ins, there's a load of players, and I'm going to hold my hands up. I've gone through all the international teams again and looked for the players who generated as free agents, and we found some more. Just as a little recap of the players we signed previously, we've got Shvetsov, who we agreed to sign a few years ago. He's been on trial for about the last year at the club. He will join us finally next September, so in 10 months' time, but he has improved quite a lot. We also signed Koklov, you may remember. Still excited to see what he can achieve. Again, another player who has been on trial at the club, although he doesn't look quite as good as his fellow Russian player in our team. And the other chap we signed a while ago was João Martins, who has 20 determination. For some reason, pre-signing these players and then offering them trials doesn't unmask their attributes, so I don't actually know exactly how good they are. But they have been improving a little bit whilst playing for the under-18s. And for some reason, despite the fact they're in on trial, they have, if I'm not mistaken, actually been playing for the under-18s in the Youth Alliance League Northeast. Yeah, Shvetsov here, you can see 7 goals to his name. I'm not sure if that's legal, but yeah, they're in on trial. They've not got work permits, but we're just sneaking them in the under-18s tournament. No one's got to know. And, well, you might have noticed there's lots of new players added to this growing list of players to join us when they're old enough to join us. The first player we have here, Cyril Ballman. He might not be that good. I signed these players without bringing them in on trial. If you don't know, some football players in Football Manager, the regens you get, generate as free agents. They don't generate at a club. These players typically have a very, very low reputation, but they can have a really wide range of potential. They can be absolutely incredible or full-on potato. It's largely judged, I believe, by the nation they generate in and the nationality they are. But obviously, these players I found through finding them playing for under-21 youth teams, and well, hopefully, they're going to turn out quite good for us. But Cyril here, he looks okay. He's 17. I'm not going to claim he's the craziest player ever. He'll join us, as you can see, in February. He's all right. The other players, though, a little bit more excited about them. And, well, we went once upon a time and got Smoljo. We found a few of his friends, a few more Croatians joining the team. At this point, we're becoming the Croatian national team. So we've got here Vinko Kasich, or Kasich, probably Kasich. He's a right winger, has pretty nice physicals in terms of his pace and agility. Great first touch. Interestingly enough, he has 14 heading, which as a winger feels like a monumental waste. But you can see here, 16 years old, 6 caps for the under-21s team, 1 for the future. Hopefully he has potential. Apparently he can improve a lot in the future. So that bodes well. And the last player we signed, 15 years old, definitely not legal. We could get punished like Chelsea did that time. We've got here Tihomir Mrdesa. I'm going to call him Mr. Dessa. There is no... It would be a missed opportunity not to call him Mr. Dessa, wouldn't it? Mrdesa, Mr. Dessa. It's a good name. And, well, you can see here, 15 years old. He's a natural centre-back with 6 jumping reach and 6 heading, which I absolutely detest. But he looks very, very well-rounded in other areas, to the point where I'm sat thinking... Maybe central midfielder, maybe right back of the future. Ambitious personality is nice. He's not going to join us until the 20th of December 2027. That is over 2 years away. But the good news is no one can poach him in the meantime. So hopefully he develops a little bit. He's on trial until he signs for us. Loopholes and that. He's playing for the youth team a little, I believe. We'll see what becomes of these guys. They're punts for the future, and that's kind of just the general gist of things. I mentioned the improvements of some of these players. Just on the whole, just a quick little thing. Training-wise, things have been going really, really well. When it comes to my training, people do ask. The way that I like to do things is I will control individuals' trainings, but then I'm quite happy to just let my assistant take control of general training. I feel like they're pretty efficient at that stuff, and I feel like individual training is where you can really have more of an impact on a player's development. Of course, the beauty of Football Manager is you can kind of just play the game however you want. There isn't really a right or wrong way to play it, but it's just the way I like to play it. And if we just look at individual training here, you can just see here a sea of green. There are very few players not doing well in training, which is really, really positive. And I guess the most positive thing of all is the fact that Smoljo is top of the pile. He is continuing to develop. He is now listed as a League One quality goalkeeper with the potential to be a Premier League player. Of course, he will become homegrown at club at the end of this year. That would be huge for longer term, where hopefully we're competing in Europe, because he would be a player who would be a nice fit as a homegrown player, even if it's just as a backup goalkeeper, if he doesn't have this high potential that we're really banking on him having. If you've done a kind of road to glory style save in the past, you've probably had it where you get to European football and suddenly you don't have enough homegrown players at club because you've shot up the league so quickly. I'm hoping we're not going to have that issue here. Obviously, that remains to be seen. Elsewhere, you can see Ollie Young has been performing very well, has been playing a little bit of football, and the reason he's been playing football is because top performer at the club, Embleton here, you can see with the highest average rating, he got injured and was out for 5 weeks, and I was freaking out thinking, oh my god, what are we going to do? He's out, and he's still kind of on the road to recovery now. But finally, after 10 minutes of talking, let's have a look at the schedule. And you can see here what we've done while he's been injured. We've been absolutely superb. We have been on a really, really good run. Of course, last time out we took on Wrexham, who, well, since last episode have climbed up to 7th. Their media expectation was reasonably high. And from there, we've just gone on a really good run. Unfortunately, despite 2 wins in the EFL Trophy, we have crashed out of it. This is a competition that I don't really like the concept of in its current form in real life. The fact that after a draw in the group stage you play a penalty for a bonus point feels a little bit like ice hockey. I love ice hockey. I don't like it when this rule's applied to football. But yeah, despite winning 2 games, we didn't qualify even though we beat Lincoln City. That was awkward. Anyway, you might be wondering, why have you covered that first, Jack? It's because I just want to get rid of it. I don't like the EFL Trophy. I just don't. I'm going to hide it. There we go. It never existed. So in terms of the rest of the game since we last here, we started off with a fantastic little win against Chesterfield, a team who are going, or were going really strong at the time, and I think they are still going strong here. A real variety of goal scorers, which was nice. We then took on Morecambe, which was bitterly, bitterly disappointing. A 2-1 defeat in this game. Will Russ getting them ahead just before half-time. Shuttleworth then cropped up with a goal. Nice little finish for him, I believe, into the bottom right corner, if I remember correctly. Unfortunately, as we did go for the killer blow, as I went for the win, Morecambe, a team who I wanted us to be and are struggling in the league, we ended up conceding. Will Russ with his second of the game from a set piece that wasn't cleared, and things didn't get much better in their next game against Salford. 663 fans turned up. Salford are second bottom in the league. Mampala scores early on. You think, right, get the martini out, sit in the deck chair at the side of the pitch, enjoy the rest of this match. I couldn't enjoy it. Paul Wilder scored for them in the 64th minute, and that was that. You can see the stats in the bottom left. We dominated the game. Really unfortunate result, but sometimes that happens. The next game we had against Crewe Alexandra, beat them 1-0. It was a penalty, first few minutes of the game, and that was that. It was not an entertaining fixture by any means. We then took an Aldershot, a 4-0 win there, and you can see here, a clean sheet against Crewe, a second in a row, and then we went on this little bit of a run, and it started off with this result against Aldershot, who are struggling in the league. Nice to see a variety of goal scorers. We then took on Grimsby Town, who we previously beat in the EFL Trophy, this time beating them 1-0 in the league, thanks to Zach Gannon, who... he's been a little bit of a revelation this season. I've got to level with you. I didn't really expect a great deal from Zach. He's a good player. I really like him. But after last year, I was kind of not entirely sure if he can make the step up for League 2. But we put a bit of faith in him. And, well, step up he certainly has. And his goal was the difference maker there. We then took on Newark Flower Serve in the FA Cup first round lower league opposition. Mampala with a hat-trick. He was loving it. And then we beat Mansfield away from home. 3-1 this one finished. A bit of an interesting game. We took a 3-0 lead. Unfortunately, surrendered the clean sheet early on. But DKM with the first of the goals. Really nice build-up play. And I thought a super sexy goal was going to happen. And then in the end, it was kind of one block shot that fell to DKM. And the finish was good, but it wasn't the sexiest of goals. We did get a couple more goals through Liam Coyle. A slightly unlikely goal scorer, the ball-winning midfielder, but 2 efforts from range, if I recall correctly. Certainly the first one was, and that was a fantastic start to the second half. His second goal of the game followed not too soon after, and at 3-0 up, we took our foot off the pedal. As I said, we conceded through Callum King harms. Disappointing to lose that run of clean sheets, but we go on. And then we beat Rochdale most recently a week ago. Mampala again with the goals. He's finding some form and has somewhat dislodged Leighton Stewart as our starting striker. You can see here 3 goals in the FA Cup, 6 in the league. He is in red-hot form and is starting to consider whether or not he should move to a bigger club. I do not like that attitude. I do not. What are you doing, Manasseh? Calm down. Get that thought out of your head, lad. Anyway, if we just look at the league table here, well, of course, we're not playing in the league today, but we currently sit in 3rd place, which is really, really good. For some reason, our form has bugged out and is only showing our last 3 games. That's weird, and it's the same for Lincoln. And for Grimsby. They are all teams who played in the FA Trophy, or in the EFL Trophy. Is that to do with removing this? Is this some weird butterfly effect? If I tick this again and go back, is it going to show correctly? No. Well, I've broken it, everyone. I'm sorry. But you can see here, we do have a game in hand on Burton, who are trailing us. Of course, we beat Burton right at the start of the season in that first live com. We have only lost 2 games all year, both away from home. So at home, we've got a bit of a fortress. Interestingly enough here, in terms of player stats, we don't really appear anywhere besides some poor discipline, which isn't exactly nice to see, is it? If we look at team detail, though, average possession, we're 4th here with 56%. In terms of goals scored, if we just have a look here, we are top of the pile with 38 goals. Bradford, who are right up there in the league, you can see currently top of the league, have scored 1 fewer, and then it's Chesterfield and Burton behind. In terms of goals conceded, if we just look at the defensive record, really high in this as well. Only 18 goals conceded, which still feels a little high to me, but compared to everyone else around us, it's good enough for me. Interestingly enough, average attendance, 622 fans is our lowest attendance. Our average attendance is 969. Giggity. It's not good. It's not good, although Towlaw is, I believe, the smallest town ever to play in the Football League. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. Someone left a comment mentioning the fact that Towlaw would be the smallest place ever to play in the English Football League. It's a place with a population of just a couple of thousand. I think it's 2,500 roughly. Tiny, tiny place. We have more people watching the videos here on YouTube than there are people living in the place that we're watching, which is a little bit bizarre, and it's not even close. But yes, lowest average attendance by quite a margin. And if we look at salary per year, I know that I talk rubbish about Alexander all the time. I have to hold my hands up and say, he might not be giving us a whole lot of money, but when he does give us money in the wages, we make use of it. We have the second highest wages in the league. I didn't realise it was that high, and that really makes me feel like we have to get promoted this year. That makes me more concerned about doing it. Of course, you can see with the way things are playing out, coming up close to the halfway mark, we're definitely up there in contention, and if we continue with our goal scoring and defensive record, I think we will get promoted this year. Just in terms of finances, I mentioned them. We did get another mini investment. We've had a few investments over the course of this year. If we look at this season's income, I'm sure it'll be here. Yeah, investment. We've had £870,000 invested to keep us in the black, including recently $358,000 invested by Alexander. Again, just making sure we don't go too much into the red. At this point, I'm pretty certain he is just an underwriter sugar daddy. If you don't know, you get different types of tycoon in Football Manager. You get some that will just plough constant amount of money to sign players, to invest in everything. I imagine you get the idea at this point. You just go crazy, Manchester City or Chelsea style. You then get tycoon takeovers where the chairman, if you're successful, will kind of reward that success with more money, and the more successful you are, the more he'll put into the club. And then lastly, you get underwriters, and these are people who basically will give you a little bit of money to spend out of your means, but they're not going to chuck a load of money into the club balance. They're not going to throw a load of transfer money at you, but any time you kind of go into debt, they're just going to bail you out consistently, and I'm beginning to think Alexander is one of those. So anyway, today we are in the FA Cup second round. This was one of those episodes, as you can tell, where there was just lots of stuff to talk about. It's been about 2 months since you were last here. We're going to be taking on Bristol Rovers. We're at home. It's the FA Cup second round. We are actually the favourites as well. Right now, Bristol Rovers sit 14th in League One, which a couple of years ago would have made me feel like we were massive underdogs with no real shout. Given how this year's gone and given how we're performing, I kind of back us to get a result here. In terms of the team we're going to go with, this is the lineup. So it's going to be Smolyo in goal for today's game, continuing to improve, which I love. Unfortunately, Gannon has had a few little injuries lately. He's not fully fit for today's game. So Younger, who came previously for Embleton and proved his worth, is going to start alongside Embleton this year, who has declined a little as a result of his injury, but is still by far and away our best defender. Right back, we're going to go with Rush. He has settled into the team now, found his groove, has been very, very good for us. Norris at left back on loan from Ipswich. There's lots of Ipswich players and former Ipswich players in our team at this point. His contract with them still expires at the end of the year. I want to sign him if I can. That's definitely an end goal here. In the centre of the midfield, although perhaps we do have alternative players like Liam Coyle, I'm going to go with the two new signings. We're going to give them a chance to prove their worth. Of course, both signed from Ipswich. They played together at Ipswich for an extended period of time and would have played as a centre-mid duo. So it's going to be Needham as the ball-winning midfielder. You can see here, naturally a left-back, but definitely adequate ball-winning midfielder quality for this level. I really, really like the look of this guy. His first touch being good is a nice bonus. Andre Dazelle, I mean, as far as lower league deep-line playmakers go, I don't think I'm going to get a much better player than this guy. 11 decisions and 11 anticipation perhaps lets him down a smidge, but 16 vision, 14 technique, 15 passing. Yes, his physicals aren't anything to write home about, and he very much is a deep line playmaker, and that's that. But I do feel like he's the Tom Brady of the team. He's going to be like a quarterback, I hope, for us, pinging balls out. You can see he's played one game for us in the FA Cup and one game for us in the Leasing Trophy. His ratings in both those games have been pretty solid. Really looking forward to having both these players registered for the League 2 season in a month's time when the registration reopens at the start of January. And well, in the final third, a slightly familiar look. DKM is going to play out on the left. On the right, it's going to be the yellow-booted beast. It's Michael Jacobs, who scored that absolute wonder goal last time out. Has improved a fair bit, actually, as of late. A few areas with red arrows, but on the whole, improvements. Ballo is going to play down the middle. I'm still not sure what to do with Ballo. He's not really shone anywhere, although recently he has picked up his performances for sure. So I feel like at this point we just have to persist with him. And as I mentioned earlier, Mampala has just hit a goal-scoring groove. And with that happening, I'm sorry, Leighton, but you're on significantly less money. If we do compare you two as just footballers, I would say Mampala is just the better player on the whole. Slightly worse technique and speed, but in terms of aerial ability, mentals, vision and attacking, he has the edge. On the bench, though, Leighton will be there alongside Shuttleworth, Sean McAllister, Warrington, Coyle, Patterson and Deshaun Bernard. If you were wondering, Jack, where is Alexis Sanchez? He got injured. Yeah, of course he did. Gashed up a leg, a twisted knee. He's had a few in quick succession. Missed a couple of weeks, is not fit for today's game, and he's not taken the injury particularly well, as is indicated by this big angry red arrow next to his dribbling. But anyway, a huge FA Cup game today. Needham and Dazelle, the new duo at centre mid. If you didn't catch it, by the way, Dazelle is only on, I think, £1,400 a week. I don't think it's a lot, 1.5. But if we just compare him to Forster Kasich, I have to do this. Kasky Jack. I'm sorry, everyone. There's the one Charlton fan getting really, really annoyed right now every time I say it incorrectly, and probably MK Dons fans. But if you compare these two players side by side, I mean, it's a bit of a non-contest, and then you realise that Forster Kasky's on more than double the wages, and he's 31. I've probably got to look to sell him in the January transfer window. He's not going to play regularly for us. You can see the comparison here. Dazelle is just a better player. Statistically, Kasky, he's been solid. He's had some good performances, but his average rating on the whole of 6.86 is what led to me thinking, actually, I can kind of stomach signing two new centre mids. Warrington and Forster Kasky are kind of the two players who I've played alongside each other for a lot of this year. We've kind of swapped things out a lot at centre mid. I feel like with Needham and Dazelle now, we've got two players who we can settle on. You guys can let me know what you make of them as transfers. I probably could have waited until January to bring them in, so I wasn't paying for their wages whilst they couldn't play in the league. But they had lots of clubs in League 1 interested in them. I just didn't want to risk missing out on them because I do genuinely feel like they're game changers. Also, you might notice here there's just no stadium behind one end for us. We've got some stadium work that's due to be done in January. I swear Football Manager is meant to show construction going on, or at least it did at some point. Here at Town Law, there is no construction, there's just a car park. I guess it's a pop-up stadium or something, and that stand will appear come January. I've not questioned it a great deal, is what I'm saying. Anyway, we've not lost at home yet in the league, and we're looking relatively solid here early on against Bristol's Rovers. I realise I shouldn't just say Bristol because fans of Bristol City and Rovers will be annoyed with me. So I'm sorry if I've said Bristol on its own at any point. Please don't take offence. Although you're allowed to take offence by the fact that Ollie Younger has scored his first of the year. And who else was it going to be? It's Dazelle with the ball in. He whips it to the back post. Of course, a result here in the FA Cup second round could see us reach the third round of the competition, which is where Premier League and Championship teams get entered. I want a big payday. I want a big draw. The impact that it would actually have at the club is a little less significant than perhaps it would have been a season or two ago. But when the opportunity's there to get it, you want it. And well, Needham, it would have been perfect, wouldn't it, if Dazelle had scored got an assist and then Needham had scored that. Unfortunately, the keepers clung on to it. It wasn't exactly the most ferocious of efforts, and now we could be on the back foot. Townsend here, it can't be the Townsend. He's Rabona'd it. Maybe it is the Townsend. What's happening? Is it Kyle Walker? No, it's not. It's Zane Walker. Which Townsend is it for them? He's done a Rabona, whatever Townsend it was. It's not Andros. I refuse to believe that is Andros Townsend, mostly because of the skin tone. He's a sick Rabona. DKM, don't know what. DKM's got distracted, I think, by the fact it was Rabona'd. Chris Townsend. Okay, that's why I've never heard of you. You're a regen. Although apparently, okay, you're on loan from West Ham. I was about to say, apparently you're insane. He is insane, but he's not actually a Bristol Rovers player, which is what I was getting a little bit excited about. thinking they had some kind of once-in-a-generational talent playing for them. That's not the case. They've got him on loan from West Ham, and suddenly the world makes a hell of a lot more sense. Anyway, we're 1 goal up here, and Ballo... not 1 goal up, but we scored one. For a second, I thought Ballo was going to make it 1-1. We were 1 goal up. We've now been pegged back, but we're doing okay, you know? 10 shots so far. No clear-cut chances for either team. They've scored that one opportunity. Ballo again with it. He loves his little runs forward, does Ballo. Look at him go. The Austrian beast. DKM smashes it just wide of the post. The keeper didn't even move, confident that he knew the dimensions of his goal. And when I say the dimensions, I mean relative to him. I don't think there's many goalkeepers who, if you ask them how big is a goal in centimetres, they could just tell you how big it is. Maybe there is. If you're a goalkeeper, let me know how big a football goal is. If you're not a goalkeeper, don't cheat and go on Google. You're ruining it for the rest of us. Ballo with it. Now with Needham. Mampala. Ballo. Look at this build-up play. This is nice. This is sexy. Jacobs hits it, and I thought it was in for a second. It's gone just the wrong side of the post. Sometimes you get games in Football Manager that just whiz by. This is not one of those games. This is one of those games with a hell of a lot of highlights. Going to tell the players I'm far from pleased. You know the deal by now. I do not want any complacency sneaking in here. You can see Giselle pressured by the team talk. Come on, Andre. Get your head in the game, in the words of Zac Efron. Norris at left-back has not had a good game either. And, well, speaking of the devil, he could be involved in the build-up play here. Here he is. He's lurking in the centre. Lays it inside to Needham, who has, I was about to say space ahead of him, but then it looked like the ball accelerated. Did anyone else see that? That's offside. Please? Smolio saves it. It was offside. I should be a linesman, it turns out. Good save by the keeper, though. Didn't know it was offside. Or at least that's the law of the situation I'm going to plug into my mind. You can see here, Needham's done well. Dazel's done pretty well, all things considering. But certainly some players not performing. Ballo's been poor. I'm going to bring in Warrington at centre attack in mid. And I'm going to bring in Shuttleworth on the left. So a few kind of longer serving players coming in now. I mean, Lewis Warrington, his 4th year of consecutive kind of regular first team football at the club at a 4th different tier. One of those players who has kind of levelled up with the team, it feels like. I do feel like he's hit his limit, which is why Needham and Dazel are now in the team. But we're going to give him a nod as the number 10. And while time is just trickling away here, and we're going to go to a replay. I did not really anticipate the replay. This is already a long episode, folks. I'm going to jump forward. I'll see you in a second. I don't know how games are going to get shuffled around. We're going to Bristol, boys. Okay, folks, so it's second game time against Bristol. I did not want this game. My voice, as I said right at the beginning, is starting to give out. I've been dosing up on some throat sweets in the downtime. Only 3 days since the last game, McAllister has come in on the right. I was a little underwhelmed by our attacking intent against Bristol Rovers. The other player we've picked up for today's team is Leighton Stewart. That does mean that Mampala is on the bench, and it's a similar story with Jacobs, the yellow-booted beast. He's been contained. He has his best performances on off the bench. We'll leave him hungry and wanting more. That does mean that Dazel and Needham are going to get another game. And before we get any further, because I forgot to mention it immediately after coming back, the draw for the 3rd round of the FA Cup has been made. Who are we taking on? Arsenal away. I want to win this. I really, really want to win this. We'll have to see how we get on here. Bristol Rovers, a good team. But I think we showed in the home tie, we can definitely push them. Could be a slightly different beast, I feel like, going away from home to them here today. But if we play to our best, I feel like we can have the beating of them. You can see here, our team pretty good in terms of condition. They're struggling significantly more. Obviously, the advantage of resting players between games showing through here. And it's something that I really can't stress enough. And I feel like the AI doesn't do it enough. I love to do it. Oh my gosh, Leighton, what are you doing? That would have been incredible. The attack might not be over, although that cross is overhit. That would have been an incredible start. That would work, denying the shot there from Leighton Stewart and Dazel. One ball of quality from a similar position already. And McAllister, fresh off the bench from last game where he didn't play, heading over the bar there. A good opportunity squandered. So far, I mean, things continuing where they left off. 7 shots in our favour, 61% of the ball. We've both had 1 shot on target. It doesn't matter how much you have the ball and how many shots you have. If you're not in the target, you're not going to score unless you cross it in and then the defender kicks it into his own goal. But that You can't rely on that in football. You just can't. So we need to start getting the ball, a bit more into the box. I'm half tempted to put on the work ball into the box instruction. We'll see how things play out here. First and foremost, though, Needham with it to Dazelle. I really like them as a midfield partnership. I feel like they are League One quality. Oh, no, my word. Speaking of quality, Leighton. What a goal that is. Why did I have him on the bench previously? It was because he's not performed that well. But in the live comm and in the big matches, he loves it. The playoff goal scorer last year, I mean, it's Haaland-esque, isn't it? That long-range effort just hits it in and the ball stays hit. It almost looks like it accelerates in mid-air. The keeper did not get close to it. We find ourselves a goal up. Needham has got a booking. That's a tiny bit concerning when your ball-winning midfielder gets a booking in a game. I may play things safe here and bring in Liam Coyle at half-time. I'm going to go for the typical WorkTheSpace. I'm far from pleased with the performance. I just feel like it's the best shout in Football Manager. People sometimes tell me, Jack, why don't you do different team talks, or why don't you do shouts more? I haven't done it in FM20, but in FM19 I did a save game where I intentionally did all the wrong shouts. I tried to annoy the players. Outside of how it impacted morale during games, I don't feel like it made a difference to actual player performance, at least not one that's that noticeable. So if there's a few bits of red, it's not good longer term, but in the immediate aftermath of a game, I don't feel like it changes a great deal. I realise I've been waffling along here. Stuart's just scored again, folks. It's 2-0 up. And, it's the sub, Liam Coyle, with the assist. I'm not sure about the chicken celebration, however. Stuart now probably looking for his hat-trick, I guess. I can't take him off, can I? That would be illegal. I'm going to take off McAllister and I'm going to bring in Jacobs. We're going to test the theory that the yellow-booted winger is only good on off the bench. I feel like people are wondering, Jack, what's with the obsession with the yellow boots? I don't know. Maybe I'm stuck in a kind of 90s or early noughties mindset where if a player has colourful boots, they must be the best player on the team. But he's got blooming yellow boots. Look at him. He looks like a jester out on the right-hand side with this away kit. Stuart, hat-trick, take it, hits the woodwork and doesn't follow it up, and the keeper just collects. I mean, they've not had a chance all game. They've had to take off a player with an injury, so they're now down a man as well. I mean, I'm going to say it, everyone. Game over. We've won this. Easy. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves, although another goal here would certainly seal it. Ball whipped in. Ballows there on the volley. Good save by the keeper. I'm very excitedly moving my cursor around the gameplay. I need to take my hand off the mouse. Calm down, Jack. Dazelle whipping it in. He's whipped it too well is what he's done there. And it's missed everyone. But I'm not going to complain a great deal. 2-0 up. We've bullied them. They're League One quality and it's not really been close. I want to seem like Sarah. We're going to Wembley, but we're not. We're going to the Emirates. It doesn't really work, does it? No. What could we go with? What rhymes with Emirates? I don't know. I don't know if there's like an occupation of football chant maker, but if there is, I'm not born for that profession. Smolio's born for the goalkeeping profession, though. A crucial little tip over the crossbar there by him. Oh my word. That felt like a save for the cameras. I feel like he could have just jumped for that normally. Instead, leapt like a salmon, and well, that's the last bit of action we're going to see. 2-0 it finishes here. A dominant display in the second leg, away from home as well. Does raise a question as to why I didn't play Stuart in the first game. Maybe he's just forced his way into contention for the next game. As you can see here, we are going to be taking on Arsenal on the 4th of January. I think we know when we're going to be back next time, everyone. Awarded £65,000 as well for that game, which is really, really good. Sorry, Morecambe. We've got bigger fish to fry, so we'll catch you later. Leighton, you were superb, my friend. And, well, looking ahead, we've got a pretty packed month, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of games away from home where we have struggled, but there is one game now that just stands out more than the rest in this very long list of games, and it's that of Arsenal, which is going to kick off in January, which does include some big games for us. Peterborough, who were doing well in this set of games, at the big ones really. Burton Albion in 4th place, as you can see here. And the other team that I'm kind of keen to play, Bradford, who are top of the league. So who knows? Probably Arsenal next episode and then potentially a live com double-header to follow. 2 huge games in the context of the League 2 season. That is for certain. But anyway, folks, hopefully I catch you tomorrow. One of the biggest games in the series so far, away from home against Arsenal. It's going to be a good occasion. I hope to see you guys for it. And yeah, that is going to be all from me today. Thank you for watching. Drop a like if you've enjoyed. It's me, Jack, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.